Yo,
Hey, welcome to the new meta, episode 146.
146.
We got a special guest joining us today,
Yes, we
in
do.
between.
Hello.
You want to do some introduction, Fluff? Why don't you handle that one?
Yeah, sure. Echo, so, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are your interests? Long walks on the beach? What? Tell us a little bit.
No.
I
We
mean,
got Echo Hacks
are
joining
you
us for
are
those of
you
you
are
listening.
you offering? Because
Yes.
I mean, let's
He's
go.
single now.
I am going to be playing Diablo Immortal as we take that long walk on the beach,
Mm,
but
convenient.
yeah.
I didn't think about mobile games in that regard, so maybe just turned over a new leaf today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm echohack. I'm a Diablo streamer. Currently streaming Diablo Immortal closed alpha. Yeah, we're gonna unpack that a lot. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So you want to jump in? Well, let's just get the poll from last week out of the way, and then we can go. Do we have a poll for this week? I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got so enamored by Echo that I
Let
forgot
me
to.
super quick. He's got like some green screen effect, I think, from the last guest.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Drive me nuts.
Well, while Fluff is fixing that, Echo, I'll start off the interview portion then.
All right, man.
What got you into content creation, man? Tell me, like, how did you get started? Tell me your journey of how you ended up.
Wow, I
Fixed.
started streaming on Justin TV in 2009.
No
Wow.
shit.
Old school, man.
And yeah, it's been a long, like, off and on, streaming here, streaming there, just really as a hobby. But in the past few years, I've been streaming more on my personal channel. But I've always done stuff behind the scenes, whether it's stream tech for like fighting game tournaments. I did production assist for a big event at PAX a few years back for an event for a game called Vainglory. I don't know if you guys remember that one. Yeah, I have a lot of like behind the scenes kind of stories. But yeah, getting back into Diablo and streaming a lot of that over the past year for many different reasons. But yeah, it's good to be back, and it's good to be streaming a lot more.
It looks like you broke the law. I hear the cops coming to get you. So if Echo disappears, that's what's happening. That's cool. So
I played too much Diablo Immortal, and they're coming
yeah,
to get me now.
you're committing self-harm, so they've sent the police to stop, right? What got you? What was your first Diablo game then? So how did you get into Diablo and that whole realm?
I mean, first Diablo game was Diablo 1 back on Windows 95 on my friend's computer because I didn't have a computer strong enough to play it.
Right.
But yeah, and I've played everything ever all the other Diablo games ever since. Most hours probably in Diablo 3 at this point, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what keeps you into Diablo? Like that's your bread and butter lately. It's like what's your hook?
I mean, it's got to be sort of like the drive to always find that like next piece of gear, so a bit of the competitive drive, but like also the community, like a little bit of everything, right? It's not just hardcore grinding everything and personal challenges and all that, but also just like hanging out with people, chilling with people, that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah. The social aspect of it is my biggest draw, I think. So I could definitely see that. All right, so I'm gonna throw one more. We'll jump back into the poll after this question, but this is kind of we're gonna jump off the Diablo 3 train because we want to hit, we really want to pick your brain on Immortal. But if you're kind of put in charge of Diablo 3 in the realistic realm of possibilities, what would you like to see it do with its remaining time before D4 hits? And I assume it's going to be shelved at that point. But do you have any kind of easy wins, quick fixes, things you'd like to see them do?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing I do is take a look at that at the follower system
Mhm.
and do a couple things with it. One, to sort of like rein in the effect that it has on botting a bit,
Okay. Yeah.
as that's a pretty huge problem right now.
Yep.
And then I guess the other thing is and this is something I guess you won't hear very often, but I would love to do a power decrease across the board off of all the top builds, so that it's a little bit hard to get 150 again.
Yeah, I've talked about that a lot. Actually,
Yeah.
I think they need to do a power nerf, and I would like to see things get reset to around the 70-ish level. The Greater Rift 70, 100 should be like you are absolute stud, and reset that power creep. But that's a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah.
But all right, Fluff, what do you got for me? You got some polls?
Yeah. So every week we ask a couple polls. Last week we asked if Diablo Immortal cannot be emulated or does not have controller support, will you play it? And I don't know that we've ever had a poll that was this close. Is a 50.3% to 49.7%. Heck no to yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Echo? Controller support and emulation, and I know you've been putting on crazy hours. So, like, how's your body holding up?
Yeah, I mean, so the couch is here for a reason, right? Like, my couch is not my normal streaming setup by any means. So yeah, when you're playing on this device like this for many hours, you need to relocate yourself. You need to rethink your stream setup. You need to you have to think a little differently because the game is on a mobile device. Now that said, I do think like in the future there's a couple of options for us. You could play on a bigger device and you could have a little stand. They sell these stands on like Amazon for $20. You just put like an iPad on the device, and then you just like, rest your hands on your desk physically. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is emulation, assuming that emulation is allowed and sanctioned at release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as long as there's a no stance on it, it'll be fine. As long as Blizzard doesn't come out and say, "Hey, we don't want you doing this," I think we'll be cool. But I imagine people will find a way to make it work. I really hope that the smarter guys than me out there figure out some really nice controller support.
Yeah, I mean, man, when I blasted Alpha 1 and rank 1 worldwide, I literally died. My body was dead. For like weeks after that.
Your finger still hasn't recovered. Can you do this yet?
No, I can't. Of course not.
You can't do it.
But I don't think that's related. But it didn't help. That's for sure.
I do think that they've tweaked the controls just a little bit, like just tiny tweaks here and there that have made massive improvements. And I don't feel too bad playing the game, but I am like now in a couch and that sort of thing. Like I don't. Like my hands aren't like on fire or anything.
That's good. I mean, your neck's good, and
yeah, my neck's good.
Okay,
neck's good. Yeah.
I bought this little controller device for my phone, and it just puts grips on it, and that made the world of difference. And an angle adapter, and so it cost me like $13 or something, and it was nice, but it still is a tiny little phone screen. So I think a bigger iPad or even a monitor would be you can project it and screen mirror to the monitor, and that's pretty nice. But
and then the question for next week is, what are your thoughts on a big piece of Diablo Immortal's endgame being PvP focused? Option 1, Poggers mobile PvP. Option 2, Matt, give me more PvE. And option 3, I don't care, it's not PC. Why are you laughing, P?
That's such a Fluff answer there. That's no reason, man. No
okay,
reason.
Cool. Because people always want that, that one.
Did
response.
you guys know that today is May the 4th? Echo, are you a Star Wars nerd at all, or no?
I would not classify myself as a Star Wars nerd. I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I'm not like hard on Star Wars.
Okay. I'm with you. Fluff's not into anything that's got a good story, so I know.
I'm an 80s kid, man. How can you not like Star Wars? Like, literally.
It's May the 4th, man. It's May the 4th be with you.
I get it.
So
I've never said that. May the 4th be with you, because
you have now.
I'm
You
an
just
adult,
said it.
but
You're welcome. There's some really good sales on Star Wars games on Steam. I'm just throwing that out there for people that are interested in Star Wars games, like Fallen Order, which was fabulous, is on sale. So go check it out. Or on Epic and all over the place. So that's it.
So yeah, the reason, if you guys don't know, why we brought an echohack on, obviously he's a Diablo streamer, but more importantly, he has been going ham on Alpha Phase 2 of Diablo Immortal, and being that I have physically been unable to, and I'm generally curious of what's going on with this phase of Alpha, we brought someone on that was more of an expert, and we all know that PChild's a filthy casual. He never go hardcore at anything his whole life, so...
I got some bad jokes right there, but I'm on a family-friendly podcast. Okay.
So tell us, okay, how many hours deep are you probably at this point in the Alpha Phase 2?
Oh man, I knew you were going to ask this. I really don't know, but it's either close to 200 or above 200.
It's pretty strong.
Somewhere in that.
Couple weeks in.
It's in that ballpark.
Yeah. And okay, so first and foremost, what are kind of the main differences between this Alpha and the last one?
Yeah. So I'm just going to paint a few broad strokes, because there's a lot of tiny differences, but there's a lot of huge changes. So first, I guess the first thing is those who experienced the Tech Alpha, the way you experience the end game, if you even want to call it that, was challenge drifts. And challenge drifts is how you progressed and saw yourself on a leaderboard and saw yourself beating other people. The challenge drifts are irrelevant now, mostly. Now the end game is this major PvP system where you have two factions. You have the Shadows and you have the Immortals. The Immortals have reign over basically the server. They get a lot of cool buffs. They get special items, and they get a lot of benefits to being the Immortals. And the Shadows have to grind to try to overthrow the Immortals. And there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do that. So that's like the major change is the end. The challenge drift is irrelevant now, and now the Shadows and Immortals is sort of the major in-game system.
So is there no global leaderboard anymore?
There is a global leaderboard. It's just not important. So, for example, on solo, in the technical alpha, if you got first, second, third, you got a whole bunch of legendary crests and a whole bunch of amazing loot, right?
Yeah.
So on the solo challenge drift leaderboards in closed alpha now, 1 through 10 all get the same rewards, and it's like 1,000 honor, which is. It's okay, but it's not amazing, right? You still get really good rewards for the group challenge drifts for 2s, 3s, and 4s, but you only get those rewards monthly. So they vastly toned down the importance of the challenge drifts. And the group challenge drifts are way more important now. So you really want to put yourself on the group challenge drifts at the end of the month, and the solo challenge drifts are more of sort of like a personal challenge. You also get a daily reward now, based on your highest clear on the solo challenge drifts. So again, like they're not totally nothing, but they're largely irrelevant now compared to the ridiculous amount of content available for Shadows and Immortals. There's a ton. They added a whole new game on top of this game.
Okay.
So if you're playing a Shadow, you said that there's a grind to overthrow the Immortals. That's the grind. So if I'm derailing you, then continue on. But if not, what's the grind? What does that grind consist of?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull the game out because there's so much that I can't even reference it, like just in my head. Okay, so the grind essentially is you have a ranking as a Shadow, and the more rank you achieve, the higher you are ranked. You get a bigger number, and so on. And the Shadows can organize themselves into what are called dark houses. So somebody goes to an assembly, which happens on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 2 to 8 p.m. server time. And then you can make yourself a dark house, and then you can recruit people to that dark house. Initially, you can recruit up to 20 people, but you can also level up your dark house, and you can recruit and you can up the number of people that you can recruit into your dark house. Everyone's score, everyone's individual score, adds up to your collective dark house score, and collective dark house total rank. And based on your total rank, the dark houses have a leaderboard. So whoever is the highest dark house when the immortals are overthrown, that dark house becomes the immortals. Everyone who's in the top ranked dark house becomes the immortals. Additionally, and we'll get into the Rite of Exile, the top 10 ranked dark houses get to participate in the Rite of Exile, and they get to elect 8 members each to participate in the 10 fights that happen simultaneously.
Wow.
You confused yet? Like, we're just getting
no,
started.
I mean, it's a total shift from, like, I felt like Alpha 1 was, I mean, you kind of just grind by, like, you did at a certain point, you didn't have a ton of reason to group anymore. You were just like running events and stuff like that to get more mats to upgrade gear. So it's interesting that there's kind of been like a total shift of now you're pretty much you're hurting yourself if you're running solo, basically, is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can still run solo some things, things like your dailies, like your bounties, and now you have contracts, which we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, like there are some solo events that you can run, but beyond that, you definitely want to find a group, whether it's for grinding or for doing like certain events like raiding the vault and so on.
It's the thing to me. So I mean, you could probably hit on this. The thing to me seems like this is going to promote massive shadow houses where they're going to be like, okay, we know that one of these two factions are always going to overthrow because they have these hardcore guys that are super dedicated on the server. And I see this loop being like, let's say Echo has a house, and to be a member in Echo's house, you have to like go ham. And if you don't, they'll kick you out and find somebody else that will, right? Fluff's got a house and he goes ham as well. All right. So Echo's the immortal this time. Fluff's house is the top. He's going to overthrow Echo and become the immortal. Then Echo's house is again going to be number 1. They're going to overthrow Fluff, become immortal. And that cycle is going to continue because you have the 2 most dominant houses. And I understand that some of immortals are going to, the maximum capacity for a house isn't as big as the number of immortals that are allowed. So some people still get to participate, but those 2 competing or maybe 3 competing houses that are just stacked are going to be the guys. And that's a concern that I had when I heard the system in the first place.
It gets a little more complex than that. So right now, our dark house is the top ranked dark house on the server. We have 80 members. We've maxed out everything. So 80 is the most that we've been able to get. But you might be on live, you might be able to get a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. So let's assume that Sunday we do the Rite of Exile and we become the Immortals. So we'll have 80 Immortals, but initially you can have up to 150 Immortals. So the Immortals can actually go and recruit people to become the Immortals. So once that dark house, the top ranked dark house becomes the Immortals, they might immediately just go into the top 10 ranked dark house and start just picking the most powerful characters to become Immortals, and just like stack the Immortals, absolutely stack them. So now you're in this situation where you have all the stack characters on the server as Immortals, and the people who are Shadows have to figure out how to overthrow them. And there are mechanics that allow you to do this. So I'll go into that briefly. So like at the beginning, so once a cycle goes over, like you said, PChild, there's sort of a week of break. And that week of break allows the Immortals to actually make progression on their side of things. And I'll go into Immortals progression later. But the Shadows need to make progression in order to overthrow the Immortals. So there's 4 stages: planning, gathering, showdown, and reckoning. And in planning, you need to recruit 200 Shadows in order to even get to the next stage. So if you don't have 200 Shadows, you can't even start gathering the marks and the materials that you need in order to continue further. So once you have 200 shadows, then you start gathering marks. So marks are things that you can earn by doing certain activities, dark house activities. So there's you can actually just recruit people using a signet called Occubus Signet. There's like a lottery that you can enter, and you can use this signet to recruit someone. You'll get a few marks for that. There's a tower called the Path of Blood. The way to think about it is it's kind of like a mini challenge rift. It's just like one room. You get no potions, and you have to clear the room. So you just have this tower. It gets harder and harder and harder. Every 5 floors is a boss. So you get marks for that. There's an event called Raid the Vault. So raiding the vault is actually the Immortals vault. And so you go in there and you're killing these NPC monsters who drop currency called Essentia. And Essentia is a thing that the Immortals are using to power up their crowns and things like that. And so you're trying to steal it from them. And as you're raiding the vault, the Immortals can actually get alerted to your presence, and other players from the Immortals can enter the vault and come and kill you and take all your stuff that you just took from them. Right? They can take it back. So the goal is to get out and evaluate your risk as you're going deeper and deeper into the vault. Right now, the vault is sort of like a set dungeon. There's not like a random layout, and there's like 4 floors, and there's a big boss at the end. So yeah, there's battlegrounds. You can do battlegrounds. Battlegrounds are basically it's the Rite of Exile, but it's just against random other people. And you get some marks for doing that. There's the Assembly. The Assembly is where you meet other people Wednesday, Saturday, 2 to 8 p.m. And you can actually get these buffs that give you massive amounts of XP. But also, that's the only time that you can recruit people to join your dark house. So you have to really plan ahead of time and organize like who's going to join who. And there's a little bit of like fun politics and that sort of thing going on during the week, and back channel Discord conversations and other things like that. There's contracts. So contracts are basically like bounties on steroids, right? So a bounty, you go somewhere, you kill 40 monsters, you get some rewards for it. A contract is you go somewhere, you kill these monsters, you go talk to some other guy, you go to do a dungeon, you come back, you talk to another guy, you go kill 6 monsters, you come back, you talk to another guy, and then you complete the contract or something like that, right? So it's like a big bounty, and it gives comparatively bigger rewards as well. And then finally, you have the Rite of Exile, and the Rite of Exile is a battleground of the top 10 dark houses. It's 10 simultaneously 8v8 battles versus the Immortals. So as the Immortals, you want to make sure you have at least 80 Immortals at minimum, so you can have your Rite of Exile
guarded.
Guarded, yes. Yeah. So if the Immortals win 5 or more, so Immortals win ties, 5 or more fights in the Rite of Exiles, they stay the Immortals. Otherwise, the Shadows win and they overthrow the current Immortals, and the cycle continues.
And how often does this happen?
This happens every, assuming the Shadows have gotten all the way to the stage to Showdown or Reckoning, then it happens every Sunday at 8 p.m.
So it could be as fast as weekly. Yeah, I think if I remember, some of that might be adjustable, and once it goes live, like I think they can tweak.
It says
how fast
it's as fast as bi-weekly. So if you overthrow the Immortals, there's a cooldown week, and then assuming there's no Shadows for like a week, and then after that you can recruit Shadows, and assuming the Shadows can just like totally blast and get to Showdown in a week, which has actually been pretty hard for us, then yeah, at a minimum of 2 weeks, you could potentially overthrow again.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing, though, is that once you get to Reckoning, every time you can keep upgrading Reckoning, I assume infinitely. And every time you upgrade Reckoning, you get more damage and damage reduction inside of the Rite of Exile. So the Shadows have this like continually growing buff that
So
makes
eventually
it
they
easier
will
and
overthrow.
easier.
Yeah.
Maybe. So the Immortals also have buffs that they upgrade, right? So the wow. Okay, so let's go into Immortals a little bit. So I know a lot less about Immortals because we actually haven't become Immortals yet, but the Australia server has, and I've done some research on it. So, and even Australia doesn't know everything yet. They're still actually trying to figure out how to do some things as of today. So the leader of the Immortals. So first of all, the leader of the Immortals gets a statue of themselves in West March. That by itself is like pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 4 lieutenants, and they are all under the leader as well. There's a wall in Westmarch where if you are the immortal leader or the immortal lieutenants, your name is forever like etched into the heart of the server. So like forever, you can go to I forget exactly what it's called. You can go to the wall and you can look at all of the immortals and lieutenants for all time, right? So it's that's pretty cool, right? So the actual buffs. So the leader of the Immortals gets a crown, and the 4 lieutenants all also get a crown. And you can power up these crowns by gaining a currency called dominance. And at first, you can get dominance just by recruiting more Immortals. There's certain activities you have to do. There's a 48-man raid called Kion's Ordeal, I think. And you have to defend the vault. You have to defend the Rite of Exile. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can do to gain dominance. But once you gain enough dominance, then you rank up the Immortals, and it starts at Bronze 1 because Bronze, Silver, Gold. I'm forgetting. But there's basically 4 stages, and they all have 4 levels. So Bronze 1, Bronze 2, Bronze 3, Bronze 4. Silver 1, etc. And there's a total of 16 levels. I believe 16, 15. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But you can just keep leveling up this crown, and it can keep getting crazy buffs. I believe this is hearsay, but I heard from an Australian streamer that the top buff for the crown is like 50% magic find, 50% attack speed, like a ton of crazy buffs for anybody who's in the same party with the leader. So it gets like absolutely nuts as you upgrade this thing more and more and more.
Paragon. No, I'm kidding. So what I just saw this thing pop up on your screen, and I had no idea what it was. Was Essence an Essence transfer? What is that? That was not.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Essence Transfer is a brand new feature that was actually not mentioned. It was like kind of a footnote in the blog post for the closed alpha. But essentially, do you remember in Technical Alpha how you had all these different builds and you just threw every single legendary in your stash?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't do that anymore. Essentially, you have a Kanai's Cube mechanic with this Essence Transfer vendor. And what you can do is you can go to the Essence Transfer vendor with a legendary that, let's say, you don't want anymore because it has lower stats. You can extract the legendary power from it, and then you can inherit the legendary power onto the slot that is appropriate for you.
Interesting. So if you get better statted legendary, you're gonna just override what it has, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So you keep the stats, and the legendary power gets overwritten. So presently, my stash is actually empty. I've got nothing in my stash. I haven't used my stash like very much at all during.
Wouldn't that inherently make it a little less grindy loot wise because you're not really like min maxing for like the perfect power plus stats?
I mean, in theory, yes. I'm still finding upgrades like pretty deep in. I still don't have any triple statted legendary items, and we know that they can drop. So like, there's so much more grinding to do to get better and better and better.
So there's
items.
a triple statted legendary is like a primal.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it's like well, it's rarer than a primal, I think.
Oh, good. I love that system. And so these contracts you spoke of a little bit earlier. So are these like repeatable? What's the deal with them?
Yeah, you get 1 per day.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the week, you get 3. So you start off with 3 at the beginning of the week, and then you get 1 extra 1 per day. There's a set number of them, just like bounties. And you get
like
to
World
choose
Quest
from
ammo.
2. You get to choose from 2 at a time. And the one you don't choose rolls over to the next day.
So, in alpha phase 1, DH was, I mean, it seems sizably the best. Is there kind of a top performer right now?
So this is a good question. So, so I kind of, first of all, disagree that technical alpha DH was the best. I think what we were seeing is that folks who were playing DH had the most stats by far. So I think it's hard to evaluate that statement.
Well, okay, so here's what I base that on, right? So I'm pushing global rank 1 Barb, and I'm like fishing and pulling all this great density together, like farming the perfect map, and then I see Leviathan, who has actually had less stats than me at the time, speed run the same rift. So to me, this was a pretty clear indication.
Okay.
That,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to go back in time and look at what the stats were and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I trust you there. But at least now, I don't know if they normalize the stats a bit or change some things, but definitely, they definitely changed a lot of things with how Paragon works. So definitely your stats are actually some of the most important things. Specifically, offensive and defensive rating are some of the most important indicators of how high of a challenge rift that you can clear. And to some extent, like how much damage you can do in PvP and that sort of thing.
are there better indicators?
Stats are really important.
Are there better indicators to like tell the player that that's a thing? Because I feel like in alpha phase 1, you didn't really like offensive rating, like, oh, that seems good. Like, I want to have more of that, but it didn't really give you like any kind of magic formula, right?
Yeah, so they did a lot to sort of take offensive and defensive rating away from interacting with the player. It's more of an inherited stat, and now you're interacting with the main stats, your vitality, your strength, your fortitude, intelligence, willpower, etc. And those are what are giving you the offensive and defensive
calculating your offensive power and stuff. Yeah.
Attack defense.
Yeah.
Furthermore, they took away the offensive defensive rating from and like main stat that you would get from both the regular gems and from Paragon. So all of the stats you're getting from Paragon and from gems are now like secondary stats, like armor penetration or potency or like these other like secondary effects sort of stats.
So
and
go ahead.
Yeah, we can talk about whether that's a good thing or not, but yeah.
I mean,
that's how it is.
So what's your outlier for class though? Looping back to the original question, do you have
right.
It's balanced, or is there a class that's a little good?
So first of all, I don't think they've done any work to sort of balance things yet. I think they're mostly thinking about like does the game function correctly?
Sure.
But I do think that compared to technical alpha, the classes feel a lot more balanced in terms of challenge rift pushing. We're having pretty much anyone from every class push similar challenge rift levels based on offensive and defensive rating alone. Your build sort of matters. It might help you clear like 1, maybe 2 challenge rifts higher, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not super important for challenge rift pushing anyway. For PvP, on the other hand, there's definitely a couple clear winners. And of course, PvP being the newer system, so it kind of makes sense. So Barbarian would probably take my top spot right now. They have a new ability called Undying Rage, which gives them 6 seconds of unkillable, like 1 HP. And then while you're in that unkillable state, you can basically just whirlwind and life leech everybody and get back to full. So like,
can you be stunned in Undying Rage?
You can be stunned if the person you're attacking isn't already dead. So yeah, like so yeah, Barb definitely takes the cake for me. And then after that, I would say Crusader. Crusader just has the pony, the horse that they have is tremendously fast. It can do knockbacks like continuously, and they also have an ability called Sacred Chain that's like a bounce stun. It's basically like if you're familiar with World of Warcraft, it's like Death Coil if Death Coil bounced around and hit different enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Now that said, like Demon Hunter, as long as you have enough stats, can just sit back and multi-shot and do massive amounts of damage. And Wizard is like really, really good with Black Hole. They can zone the battlefield pretty well. And at least on our server, there's actually not too many monks, but I know Monk is actually really good.
Okay, so I guess going into Alpha Phase 2 or after how much you've played, what are your favorite things as of right now?
I mean, my favorite things are the increased amount of socialization in the game, for sure. You're no longer just like going out into the world and running around and like trying to kill bonus mobs and grind mobs. For people who are blasting the game, they're running like multiple characters to try to max out the Paragon XP, and it definitely requires you to group up to even do that for people who are absolutely blasting the game. But even for people who are casuals, assembly happens on Wednesday and Saturday, and everybody shows up at assembly, and you're just hanging out, giving each other these buffs, and you're kind of chilling and recruiting different people into different dark houses. You're making dark houses. You're planning for like how you're going to overthrow the immortals, that sort of thing. It's really, really cool to see just like 30, 40 people show up to one spot for like, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour.
Do you think I would expect that this has a lot to do with testing, and the final version of the game probably will have other in-game activities that aren't as PvP oriented. But as a solo player, do you think these guys out there that are just like, man, I really don't want to have to group up and socialize, and because SSF is so big in the Diablo community, they're like, I don't want to group up, I don't want to do this. You think that's going to be a turnoff if it goes the way it is, or what's your opinions on that?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple things there. Like, I'm a huge SSF player, but the reason I'm an SSF player is because of the shape of how Diablo 3 is as a game. The shape of this game is very different. This game encourages you and rewards you by grouping up, and the grouping is not endless rat runs, right? The grouping is like, hey, we're gonna go raid the vault together, and this is strategic, and we might get destroyed by these immortals, so we got to get on Discord and talk together, and we got to plan it out. And hey, we got an assembly coming up, and we're the biggest dark house on the server. Well, let's get in Discord and talk about who we're going to recruit. I got a short list of people who are really high Paragon level. I want to nominate those people, et cetera, right? Like the mechanics of like what you care about are very different in Diablo Immortal. So for people who are like hardcore SSF, I would say this game is probably not for you, at least as the way it's currently presented. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy the game, even casually. Like, you can definitely play it 100% solo without like grouping up with people. If you really want to, you can do the vault all by yourself. You can do every single dungeon by yourself. You can do all of those things solo. But I think there's a lot less reason to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, there are games like that. Like, an example, if somebody asked me, could I play World of Warcraft solo? I would answer, well, yes, you could technically, but
Right,
would you
yeah.
have a good experience? No, like, not at all. You're going to be missing out on a lot of things. So that's kind of what I was going for. It's grouped.
I do find all of this extremely ironic because what you're describing to me is like, it's a pretty decently robust end game. Something I would love to see in like D3 for that matter. But like, you're like, okay, we're all to get on Discord. We're going to really, really coordinate. But your demographic is mobile. So like, your top players are going to be these guys sitting in front of their PC on Discord, like with their phone plugged in, playing 20 hours a day. Like,
maybe actually I've been, I think the majority of the time that I've been playing Immortal has been like up on the rooftop lounge of my building. and I've had Discord going on my phone, and I have just like microphone on my headphones, and I'm just like sitting in the lounge and enjoying the view. So I mean, you can definitely be on Discord, not on PC, and you can definitely do all the things you need to do in the game. Although it certainly is more convenient to have like a nice microphone and camera and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the, hey, I'm on a commute on a bus ride to school or to work or whatever. Let me play for 5 minutes and then turn it off for the rest of the day. It's like, no, we gotta, you're in the bathroom at work for like Fluff. Why are you using the restroom 7 hours a day?
Why every day on Wednesday you're for 30 minutes you're in the bathroom? Yeah.
He's in the bathroom, like cussing up a storm. Like, that was a hard one. That was a rough one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, I mean, if you want the casual experience, you can log in, you can do your dailies, you can do your bounties, you can do your contracts, you can do a vault here or there, that sort of thing, and you can have those sort of like bus ride experiences here and there. But if you want to go like really hard and you want to get involved in like leadership role in Dark House or Immortals, then yeah, it becomes a lot more intricate at that point.
What's your, I'm going to throw the hardballs a little bit now. What's your take on the pay to win? Because I think that's going to be a huge thing with this game. And I think, honestly, that's the make or break for this game is the pay to win. So what are your impressions? Like, tell me as somebody that doesn't really know like how that's going to influence it. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions?
Yeah. So with this alpha, we still have with the closed alpha, we still have no indication of like exactly how the pay to win is going to work. And I mean, your guess is as good as mine, right? Like, we still have Eternal Orbs. I still think Eternal Orbs is the pay to win currency. The amount of things that you can do with Eternal Orbs has not changed at all. It's still, you can buy legendary crests, you can upgrade the battle pass with it, you can buy platinum, like that. It's still the same things. Yeah, so I mean,
that's what I saw too, was the battle pass stuff, and then the crest increase your drop chances of getting legendaries and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you ask me, the way that it's implemented right now, the way it feels like, is that they haven't implemented the pay to win system yet, right? They just have the Eternal Orbs. They're there as just sort of like a hook when they decide to go and implement it and figure out what it is. And I assume, like, my assumption is that like a closed beta or open beta or whatever would be where they start testing that, right? I think back to like how Hearthstone did it, right? Like, Hearthstone allowed you to buy card packs in open beta before the game actually launched. So I don't know if I had to guess.
Carry over? I don't remember Hearthstone beta. It was so long ago. Did those carry over to your real account? I would assume they did. If they're
it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. I think what they did is they, when at release, they refunded you all of the gold that you got,
you could just buy them again,
and then you could just buy them again. I think that's what they did. I can't actually remember for sure.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I always kind of wondered what their plan was to test it. I assumed that they wouldn't really test the pay currency until it went live, until retail actually launched. But you could still kind of get an assumption, like, if you could feel like, well, the battle pass is going to cost roughly $10 if you buy it or something like that, and what is it going to give you? Like, how much power is it really going to give you?
Yeah, there are actually a couple of small changes that might change your mind about things. So first of all, there are 5 new legendary gems that are 5-star gems, and they're omega levels of powerful. They're extremely strong. It's to the point where, like, if you don't have one of these gems, you are like one challenge rift behind other people, right? Like, they're really, really strong. And they do significant amounts of damage. Like, one of them gives you a cheat death. One of them poisons everything on the screen. One of them allows you to do massive amounts of damage when you stun things, and it stuns for you. There's another one that when you get hit, you do a massive amount of damage and a small AoE around you. And then there's one that you take significant reduced amounts of damage from ranged enemies, essentially. And they're all like really, really good. So certainly, like, if the pay to win influences like which gems you get because you can buy more legendary crests, and legendary crests give you more random legendary gems, and that allows you to get these 5-star gems sooner, then yes, there's definitely a quicker ramp up for people who dump money into the game initially. But yeah, the other bit is the battle pass now gives a little bit of XP, and that's capped every week, right? So like I think you can hit the battle pass XP cap in like 16 20 hours of grinding, like light grinding, not even heavy grinding. So you can hit that battle pass XP cap like relatively quickly. And my understanding for this is that it's more of a pacing thing. Like basically in tech alpha, people were getting to the point where they'd like hit a zone and they'd be pretty hard stuck, and then you have to go back and like grind before you could even go to that zone. And so now they're using this battle pass XP to encourage you to go, oh, okay, hey, the battle pass can give me stuff. Let me go check the battle pass out, and I'll go do like one of the quests in there or something like that.
So you're saying that you could buy the battle pass XP as well after you hit cap, or to cap it?
So
tier,
actually,
right?
that's really interesting. Yeah, we tested that out. So you can't, if you buy the next stage of the battle pass with Eternal Orbs, it doesn't give you the XP associated with that level. So the only way to get the battle pass XP is to actually do the activities in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's intentional. They indicated very early on that there's no pay to progress. So there's no way to like there's no way to get like more stats on one of your items, right? Like you can't just buy fortitude on an item, and you can't just buy XP to get to the next level, that sort of thing.
Got it.
So
it's yeah.
Go ahead, P.
I was gonna say it just seems like the influence is going to be legendary drop rates. It's like if you can buy these orbs that are going to give you chances to get the legendaries you need, that's where the pay to win aspect's going to come in, and maybe the gems future on down the road.
Only legendary gems.
Okay.
Because you can buy the crests with orbs. Like you can't buy legendaries themselves with orbs.
Just the gems. Oh, gotcha.
Just gems or just crests, which then can give you a random gem if you do a rift.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've heard like your favorite things and what you like and all the content there is and stuff like that. Give us the real juice. What do you not like? What are the negatives?
All right. So as you probably heard earlier, PvP right now, it's a one-shot fest, right? Like I'm one of the most powerful characters in the game. I hit my horse, and and I'm like Paragon 67, something like that right now. And if I'm fighting someone who's like Paragon 10, I run over them with my horse and I one-shot them. And if there's 5 of them grouped up, I kill them all in one shot. Like there was I went to like a Hell 1 arena yesterday, and there was like 6 people there. When the battle started, I horsed up and I just hit them all once and they all died. So like
Savage.
There's been no balancing done. It's not that it's overtuned, it's that it's not tuned at all, right? They put the system in the game, and they're like, I wonder if this works, and they put some values, like they guessed some values, and the values are not right, and you're just one-shotting everything. So that's really bad. There is a new I want to be careful with how I call this, right? There is a new mechanic with how you get bonus XP. And so to be clear, the bonus XP pool is something that everybody has automatically, but you don't know you have it until you run out of it. And when you run out of it, and compared to technical alpha, it's sort of the same rate of XP gain, right? So like if you kill a royal shield bearer in technical alpha, it would be worth like 917 XP, I think. And then in closed alpha, it's worth 917 XP until you run out of the bonus XP pool, at which point it's worth 917 XP divided by 5. It's 1/5 of the XP, right? So when you hit the when you run out of this bonus XP, then you earn significantly less XP for anything that you kill that like come from monster XP. So like there are a lot of other sources of XP, like the globes, the battle pass, the bounties, contracts, like all other things, and those give you full XP still. Like even when you run out of this XP pool, right? And actually in general, I actually like this mechanic, and we can get into that a little bit more. However, there's a surprising part about this mechanic that we discovered that thankfully Blizzard updated the tooltip, but they haven't. I don't know if they want to fix this or not. But the surprising part of this mechanic is that all blues and yellows stopped dropping, and gold for monsters and chests also stopped dropping entirely, right? So you can only get legendaries and white items once you run out of this like bonus experience point pool.
Wow.
And they said that was intentional, right?
Yeah, this is intentional. So it's clear to our group, and it's also clear to Blizzard because we've been talking with them and giving them feedback that like they didn't get it right. So like let's talk about the intention because the Blizzard has told us the intention. So if you don't know this, like you haven't played Diablo 3. In Diablo 3, the only way to progress is to get more Paragon.
Yeah.
Right. So you get more XP, you get more Paragon, you get stronger. In Diablo Immortal, there's like 7 different ways to progress your character, and one of them is XP, right? So and that's Paragon levels, right? So Paragon levels do progress your character a little bit, but actually aren't even as important as the salvage that you get. Salvage is the best way to progress your character by far. But you can also progress your character by upgrading gems, by legendary gems, charms. Like there's a bunch of other systems. And even shadows give you like global buffs, right? Shadows and immortals and so on. So there's all these different systems to like progress your character that has nothing to do with XP. And the intention here of having this like bonus experience point pool is to nudge you into these other game modes so you're not just endlessly doing rat runs, right? And I think like the intention there is a good one. However, totally cutting you off from yellow and blue items is sort of like a nasty surprise. Also gold too, right? Is a pretty nasty surprise. So I think they need to rework that as well. Blizzard also had our group run like a special 1 hour XP blast just to see how much XP we could get in an hour. And I believe they've already adjusted the cap. So like the like XP bonus experience pool previous to this, I believe was somewhere around 70 million. And now it's like 120 million based on, math and other things like that. And I believe the yellows and blues are still not dropping. But, if I had it my way, the yellows and blues would still drop because I think you should still be able to progress your loot. However, so there's a one gotcha here. So there is a way to still progress at your XP, and that's to make another character because the bonus XP pool is per character, at least right now. And Paragon levels are shared. So there are literally only 2 resources in the entire game shared, which is Paragon levels and your Eternal Orbs. And so what you can do is you can just very cheekily, you can make another character, max your character out to 55, and as soon as you get your character out to 55, then every single point of experience points that you get goes into your Paragon pool. So we're running multiple characters right now, trying to blast multiple characters all at the same time, and trying to actually not earn XP on our mains. We're trying to keep our mains from earning XP and just going and like hunting materials with the main while we go and blast XP with the alts. So that's the current strategy until like Blizzard figures out how to like fix this situation. And they've heard by the way, everything I've said, like they've heard all of this feedback. They've taken it all into account. Like they're going back to the drawing board. They're working on things.
Sure.
Like I don't know how or what they're going to do with it, but they understand what's going on here.
It's hard to not hear what you just said and not immediately think, well, obviously that's their intent because they want to sell XP potions. Because I mean, it is a mobile game,
I think,
and that's really common.
I mean, for everything I've heard has been they don't want the game to be about blasting rat runs, right? And so that they've got to figure out some way, because like somebody out there is going to figure out the greatest, most efficient XP farming runs in the game. They're going to do the research, they're going to do the math, they're going to do the Excel spreadsheet, and then they're going to release it to the world as a YouTube video, and then everyone in the meta is going to run that. That's they want to curtail that a little bit.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It'll happen, regardless. Even if it's like an only 100 XP per hour, that video will still come out. People will still do it. So they're just going to have to react to it and have other systems. But I'm with Fluff, man. I think a huge portion of this game's success is going to depend on how greedy are they going to get with the XP potions, with the battle pass, with the eternal orbs, what power.
But that also depends on how you define success. Success for Blizzard is money, so success for us is like get that crap out of the game.
For me is like making me not feel like a scumbag when I play the game, you know. So you know, but if people could buy power just to make sure that they're one challenge rift ahead of Fluff on leaderboards, then you know they'll do it.
So you know, you mentioned this kind of alt generating system you don't like, and is there anything else that you're not keen on currently?
It's hard to say because we haven't become the Immortals yet, how that is all going to work. But I will say that we're discovering a lot of these mechanics, and a lot of times it doesn't feel good to discover how some of the mechanics work. So, for example, I mentioned we haven't become the Immortals yet. We weren't sure exactly how the Rite of Exile worked, right? Like you read the little text in game and you're like, okay, there are 10 battles. Are they simultaneously all happening exactly at the same time? What if a member doesn't show up? Can I sub somebody else in at the last minute? What if some of the other like dark houses don't show up to their fight? Can like other random people do their fight instead, or do they just automatically lose, or do they I don't know. So essentially what happened is we had, out of the 10 dark houses that were signed up, only 3 of them showed up. I think we won 3 of the fights. So we ran, of the 3 that showed up, we ran 3 of the fights. So we lost the Rite of Exile by default. It didn't feel great because we didn't.
Yeah, you held up your end. Right.
Yeah, we didn't have a full, complete understanding of exactly how it would go. And I mean, maybe it's just like a sort of, that's the first time you kind of bite the bullet the first time. Now we're going to be ready for next week, right? Like we've already planned it out, like who's going to make the new dark houses and who's going to recruit who, and everyone's going to be there at the same time. The other thing is that Sunday at 8 p.m. is a really weird time. Like people will go to work Monday morning. Like even if you're like WoW raiding, right? Like nobody raids Sunday at 8 p.m. That's a bizarre time. And it's a Pacific time, so there are people on the East Coast of the United States. That's 11 p.m. for them.
Damn.
It's just what? It's a weird time. I would have liked if they picked like Sunday morning around like 10 a.m. That way all the people who are like in the Southeast U.S. in church like have to be playing Diablo Immortal on their phones while they're
playing in the pews.
In a pew. Yeah.
They're playing Diablo in church. Like, think about the irony in that. You know, they're like, "Oh, what are you playing there? Diablo? What?
It's the Rite of Exile."
Yeah.
Oh man.
The what?
The what? Yeah, it's the times. There's always going to be that one guy that's like, man, I can't make those 2 times. This sucks, you know. But
Totally.
I guess that is at least the benefit of the mobile is, you know, like Fluff said, you're like, oh, I got to use the bathroom. Stomach's upset, you know. For the next half hour, you're in the bathroom with it locked, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's super juicy. Is there any other things you want to like kind of tell us about the game, or is that kind of like the big piece of meat?
We we haven't even talked about Crusader.
Oh yeah, right. New class, Crusader, or newish.
Yeah. So yeah, newish, right? Like
Yeah.
it's almost completely new because it plays very different from the Diablo 3 Crusader. Um, so there's this ability that the Diablo 3 Crusader has called Steed Charge, and for if you were to design an entire class around that ability, that is basically what you have for the Crusader in Diablo Immortal. So you have Draw and Quarter, and Draw and Quarter is the fastest movement speed ability in the game, as far as I'm aware. You can augment it with crazy legendary powers. You can make it so it leaves a trail of fire that does tremendous amounts of damage. You can make it so that it knock back enemies when you hit people with it, and you can just knock enemies over and over and over and over again. If you aren't using one of those legendary powers, you can actually, when you hit enemies with the horse, it will attach a chain up to I think 8 of them at a time and drag them around. And then when you get off the horse, they're all in one spot, and then you just nuke them all down with an AoE. There's stuff that makes you even faster on the horse, like 30% faster. It's crazy, right? The other thing the Crusader is really good at is AoE. So you have Consecrate, you have Judgment, you have Condemn. You have the Vacuum Condemn, right? You have a lot of these things, and you have literally basically 2 single target abilities besides your main attacks. One is the shield throw legendary, which makes the shield spin in place, and it hits 10 times, and then and it's one of those charge skills. And the other one is a skill I'm currently using, which is a shield laser. Literally a shield laser. You get basically a big light comes down from the heavens, bounces off your shield, and then you aim it and hit enemies with it. And I love it.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that sounds dope.
So,
the class is really good. It's really strong. In fact, I think initially it's probably the best early game class by far right now. And I think a lot of people very early on who weren't playing Crusader, because a lot of people are playing Crusader right now, but people who weren't playing Crusader very early on were saying, oh, this class is overpowered, it's way too strong. But of course now those people are clearing higher challenge rifts than Crusaders and so on, right? So yeah, once you get into the stat game, things even out very much.
So it's very D3. What are your least favorite abilities the Crusader has? Because I know there was a lot on the barb that was this ability is not good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look at this one because how do you remember which abilities are the ones that you don't use? Okay, so there's one that I played around with it, but it's maybe interesting, but it's hard to make it good, I guess, called Conjuration of the Light. It makes you and all nearby allies immune for 3 seconds, which seems good in a PvP situation, but the cooldown is 26 seconds. So it's maybe, and it doesn't do any damage or anything like that. There's a legendary that makes it do AoE damage for everyone that you buff with it, but base doesn't seem nearly as good as some of the other abilities that you can do. Shield charge is one that I'm not really a big fan of. It's one of those charge skills, so you got to sit there and kind of hold the button while you charge it up, and then you charge across the battlefield and do a lot of damage. It's easy to do sort of bursty damage with it, and it might be, I don't know, it might be a good initiator in PvP, but once you're on the other side of the shield charge, you're okay, what do I do now? Right? It's on this massive cooldown. It's 12-second cooldown. You got to dash with it, kind of, sort of, but Also, you have literally the fastest movement speed ability in the game. You have the horse, so I don't know why you would need another dash.
Right. So just like D3 in that regard, shield charge is really bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of abilities that I think are interesting, but just aren't like top tier, right? So like condemn is interesting in the sense that you can just vacuum and you can really pixel things in like pretty well. We were using it in like some dungeons and that sort of thing. It might be good in PvP if you just like pop condemn, get on a horse, run into a group of people, group them all up, and then other people come down. Like maybe you could do that, but its damage seems pretty low in comparison with, I don't know, like just dropping consecrate or just hitting people with the steed in the first place, right?
Yeah. Right on.
I'm with you.
Yeah. I guess the biggest takeaway for me for the Crusader is the kit that it has isn't like super cohesive. So like once you get to level 55, you have all these abilities, and it's really hard to make a build that like kind of gels really well, especially in comparison with like Barbarian, right? Like Barbarian, you can just like everything gels really well. You get like 3-4 legendary powers, you stack them all on one ability, that's your build. Like it feels really like solid. I have finally found like 2 Crusader builds that I like, but beyond that, it feels a bit all over the place.
Interesting. I'm sure that will change.
And one thing I should mention is that there aren't any heals. There are no heals in Crusader. There are buffs. There's like damage buffs and immunity and that sort of thing, but there's no heals.
It's potion only, huh?
Yeah, they're taking a really hard stance towards heals in general. The only heals I know off the top of my head in the game are the Barbarian's like lacerate attack and lacerate ults. The Barbarian has like life steal on undying rage, which is OP and is definitely going to get nerfed.
Yeah.
Did we talk about undying rage?
Yeah,
or was
we
that
did.
just on the pre-show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where they go immune, right? Yeah.
It's wild. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the smart play is not give anyone heals or like kind of crazy group stuff because they probably don't want to unintentionally create support characters again. So I think that's probably the smart play, especially for like a mobile game. But I mean, that's kind of, we had some other stuff on the schedule we wanted to touch on, unless there's other things Immortal that you think are noteworthy.
No, let's do it.
Okay. P?
Did you guys see that Blizzard and Fox Media are kind of going at it? Blizzard's trying to get them. Apparently, this is something that Discord linked me, but Fox was trying to trademark a character named Diablo, I guess, for a new series they have coming out at the end of the month. And Blizzard was like, wait a minute, hold up. You can't trademark that. And it's just like, can you even trade? Like, could you trademark? That's like trademarking Jesus. Like, you can't trademark Jesus. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't see how you could do it. So I was just curious. I threw it on the schedule because I wanted to hear if you guys, what do you think about it? You know?
Yeah.
They should be able to trademark it, or
it's definitely
I don't think Blizzard
odd.
should be able to either.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, people are going to hear the word Diablo and they're going to think different things. Like you talk to someone who's never played video games, it's like, oh, like the devil, right? Like, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, that's Diablo, but it's like a video game. So, I mean, yeah, as long as it's not like some, I don't know. I guess it'd be the content or the context of the character. Maybe that's what Blizzard is worried about. Like because like, you know, maybe if it's like not in the best light or if it's cheesy or if it's cutesy or something weird, then
yeah,
it would,
I
like,
don't know. I mean, it's
tarnish
like
the
Diablo. Maybe Blizzard could trademark the likeness of the art, you know, of the Diablo character himself, but the name for sure. It's like you can't. Were they going to trademark Matt next? It's like, well, okay, you can't have a character named Matt ever again. You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's silly.
Blizzard already like kind of stole Balrog from Lord of the Rings. Like they literally like pound for pound copied it for the original Diablo Immortal trailer, which was weird. So yeah, I mean they're pretty guilty of this themselves. What do you think, Echo?
I mean, so if we want to make an originality argument, Diablo is named not after like the devil, but after Mount Diablo
Mountains.
in California.
Yeah.
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 So I don't know. The way I kind of view this piece of news is this is just like legal posturing in order to say like, oh, hey, we're defending our IP, that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't take this as like something significant.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Blizzard actually sues them over it and if Fox gets it trademarked. Like what happens? So
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a cutesy little teddy bear character and they call him Diablo, then it's like, that's not good.
I think chat said it was a dog or something earlier.
Oh, great.
I don't know if that's actually it or not. You know?
And then other news, I found this to be really interesting. So last week we mentioned how they had done this Firebird nerf mid-season, and me and P were both like, "Why would you do this? This is this is bad." And they actually kind of came back and said, "Hey, we wanted to share transparency on the hotfix. Our really original fix was the mirror image of a two-piece was unintendedly giving a weird interaction and causing errors to occur on the back end. Upon reflection, we realized this was a mistake to release a mid-season nerf to Firebirds, and through recent patches, they basically reverted it."
Yep. They fixed some of the error on the back end, they said, and they reverted the damage. So that's good, man. You could definitely feel the damage a little. It wasn't huge. Like I did some testing and it wasn't the most damage ever, but if you're gonna get it clear by a second or two, it could definitely be the difference between getting that clear or not getting the clear. So and on top of that, even so, this is something I didn't even think about until after our pod last week, but when your mirror images would proc the cheat death, they would stay alive and they would keep doing damage, which is significant damage, especially if you didn't have cooldown to keep them up permanently. So there could be instances where it does actually make a difference.
Yeah, I think that
that's cool.
Says like, one is like, okay, yeah, we goofed and they're being transparent, and I always love stuff like that. But two, I think that this was like their learning of like, oh, this is not something you do in seasons. You don't make changes mid-season. That's not like what gamers expect. So I think that this was a good learning opportunity for them, and for them to showcase the transparency is great. What do you think, Echo?
Kudos to them, because I was curious why they would do it. I was like, it had to have been an exploit or something bad, you know. So if they had some errors in the backside and they were trying to fix those, and hopefully that's cool. I'm glad that they reverted it. I'm actually glad that they did that. So it was only lasted a week.
Easy.
Pretty cool, man. We can get into some Twitter questions. Do you have any? So at the end of every episode, Echo, we do a section called PChild loves and Fluff hates, because
of course,
Fluff's toxic and I'm the nice guy, right? So
yeah, so you can think about
some hates.
I mean, like we've just talked about this before the pod. Like apparently, there's just people stirring up some drama, which is weird. I don't even know how to describe that.
Drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About me and my ex-girlfriend, and like weird. It's weird. Is what it is.
Is what it is, I guess. My loves turns into like movie reviews, mainly these last, because that's like all I do anymore. It's like if I'm not streaming, I'm hanging out with the wife and we're watching shows. I started watching is it Bones and Shadow and Bone?
I actually watched the first couple.
Yeah, I watched them. It was okay. It's definitely getting better as the episodes progress. I'm getting more and more hooked on it. So I just finished the 4th episode today, and I was like, okay, all right. My wife's like, watch another one. Like, I gotta go do the podcast stuff. I can't. I was like, she's like, no, listen, we'll be done by like 8:50. I'm like, no, I gotta help work on schedule and do this. I can't. I don't have time. So she's probably watched it without me. But it was cool, man. It was worth checking out. And I've been hooked on Nevers. I know I talked about Nevers, but the last episode Sunday came out, and that show's getting pretty good too. So that's kind of been my go-tos. You know what I do hate? I hate that there's not good movies in the theater anymore. Like my wife and I wanted to go out this weekend, just kind of go on like a little date. And that's something that we love to do, man. We like to go to movies. And I went and checked Fandango, and I'm like, dude, there is nothing. There is nothing.
Didn't they have that movie with like Better Call Saul that just came out where he's like
with who?
The guy from Breaking Bad. I mean, he's like an ex.
Oh, I don't know.
assassin or something and
Well,
becomes like a normal dude. I don't know.
We watched the one that they had on Amazon with the Tom Clancy movie. What was that? I forget that it had Michael B. Jordan in it.
Yeah.
But Tom Clancy, I don't know.
I started that and it
like,
was so stupid.
It wasn't that good, man.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. It was like pretty typical, like predictable movie. It wasn't nothing, no spoilers, no super awesome things happened in it. So
Okay, Echo, do you have something that you love or hate this week?
Oh man. So me and the gamer waifu, we watch a lot of anime, and she put on this like really short anime. It's like very very short. It's on Netflix. It's called House Husband, and it's about this guy who was once a yakuza who is now a house husband. And it's pretty cute. It's pretty good. Love it.
Okay. What's a yakuza for those of us?
it's a gangster.
Organized crime in Japan.
Gotcha. Okay.
There you go.
Any hates? Or just all the loves?
Moving.
Oh man, I bet.
Yeah, I've been moving while blasting Diablo Immortal.
So you haven't.
Yeah,
so the wife's been moving. I got it.
No, I've been moving by daylight and blasting by moonlight, basically.
Nice.
Nice.
So you're at the old place still right now?
No, I'm at the new place right now.
Okay.
Which is why the lighting is actually kind of bad right now. But yeah, I didn't sleep until last night. Really, like I was so dead. Sleep last night felt real good. It was amazing.
So this episode, Echo loves sleep. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, sleep.
Every podcast we do questions and answer section. If you guys want to submit questions to the podcast, you can tweet them at Lord__Fluffy, at myself, ThaPChild, or you can join our Discord servers. We got some good questions. We have the most important question, of course.
We're starting out with that one? Okay.
No, we're gonna save that one. We're saving it.
Okay.
The first question that we have tonight comes from Maester Magus. He says, who in the MCU would be the best to go out and have a drink with? Who would be the worst?
Like like the actor or the character?
I just says who in the MCU would be the best to go out and have a drink with. I would assume the character, because we were in the last episode we were talking about Marvel a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with not the actor, but the actual superhero themselves.
Let's let Echo go first on this one.
All right, Echo, what do you got?
I mean, I personally would want to go out with a drink with Cable.
Okay.
He'd have some cool conversations.
Dark.
Yeah, some really cool conversations. Worst, ooh, that's there's a lot of bad. There's definitely a lot of bad. I mean, there's a lot of options there where you basically just like end up in eternal torment or yeah, I assume
that the drink would be friendly. I'm assuming like if you pick, somebody horrible to go, like if you go have a drink with Magneto or something, he's not gonna rip your head off. I guess that's MCU. He wouldn't be in there, but you get the drift. My one to go hang out with. Captain America would be too stuck up. He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be fun.
The hell?
Yeah, Fluff. You already know. And oh man, I think I'm gonna go have a drink with Thor. I think Thor would have a good time. I think he'd be a good drinking buddy.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to pick the worst, man, who would be?
I just came up with my worst.
Okay, who's your worst?
Spider-Man, because he's not drinking age.
You're going to jail. Right? Well, I mean, it could be fun.
You're going to jail.
You're going to jail. Yeah, I don't even know. Ant-Man, he just annoys me in general.
What?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
I don't like that character, man. I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's silly, but I like Paul Rudd. Okay.
I like him in other movies, just not as Ant-Man.
Who would I want to go have a drink with? Well, we're single, so I'm going out with Black Widow. I mean, let's go. And then why would you want to go have a drink with Hawkeye? Like, what the hell would he bring to the table? Like, nothing interesting. So
You don't think he's a cool dude? Hawkeye's a cool guy, man.
I mean, the actor, I would hang out with that guy, but the character, no, like he's just shooting
I
arrows.
think he'd still be fun. I'm just jealous because him and Black Widow got this thing. You know?
Well, not after I have a drink.
Yeah, I'm sure. Then Hawkeye's kicking your ass. Turbania says, all right, I had to like edit this question slightly because I didn't want to get the video flagged. He says you work at a friendship phone line. Okay. Like one of those phone lines that you would call into to have some kiki friendship. Okay. And your client demands you only use terms and scenarios from ARPG games. What would you say? This is a super weird question.
That is weird.
It reminds me, like, so as soon as I read this, it triggered like some 15-year-old memories of these. There was a series of posts by this guy named Blood Ninja. I think it was Blood Ninja. You guys ever read those things? Echo might know. Yeah, they were like super hilarious at the time. I don't know how they hold up now.
I put on my robe and wizard hat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody and commented on it and said, was it listen and what's Deckard say? Something stay a while. I just went brain dead. I can't even think of the line.
Stay a while and listen. Wow.
Yeah, stay a while and listen. Yeah, it's horrible. I couldn't remember that. Stay a while and listen, I guess. I don't what would you say?
I'll make weapons from your bones. I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, damn, Fluff. Okay, all right.
That one always came across as kind of like, this macho woman. Like the voice of it always kind of like sounded like Jim Carrey used to do a character in Living Color where he was like a transgender, and that voice that he did always reminded me of, was it the Butcher that said that from?
I've had sound off in Diablo 3 for so long.
Diablo 2, it's Diablo 2.
I'm just saying in general though. I've had the sound off for so long, I don't even remember most of the voice. Like now you have to play it with no sound, right? Because you do the lag fix, which kills the sound.
True.
I'm just sitting here trying to think. What does Tyrael say? He stands in town saying he's hungry, or they're looking at Kadala or some shit. I don't know.
You have one, Echo?
I mean, I've got one from Immortal because I've heard it the past 2 weeks.
Right.
So when the Skeleton King enters his second phase in Immortal, he says, "Bow before your rightful king."
There you go.
Dominatrix style. Damn.
That's Echo's kink line. He's
Yeah.
like, bow.
Path of Exile has some weird wonky shit. There's like a line where the lady's like, "They just keep coming." It's like, you know what you were doing when you put that line into a video game.
Yeah.
I remember that one. Every time that used to go off, I'd be like, "You shut your filthy mouth," Hex says, do you think Diablo Immortal would be a better game than Diablo 3 if it were ported to Switch and or consoles?
I mean, hot take, but Diablo Immortal already is a better game than Diablo 3. So, question answered.
Damn.
I would agree if it was on a PC.
Yeah. I think I have to agree. I've been saying from the moment I played DI that I was like, dude, if they would, Switch already has a touch interface, by the way. So they could port this to Switch straight up. And I'm like, if they would port this to Switch, this would probably be one of the top 5 Switch games of all time. Even it would be up there with, I wouldn't put it above Breath of the Wild or some things like that, but it would be phenomenal, man.
Certainly more comfortable.
Yeah. Miki says, what hobby did you pick up during the pandemic? Did you guys pick up any new hobbies during pandemic? Play a lot more video games, which is kind of hard to do, but I managed to do that.
Yeah, I guess recently I've gotten back into tennis again, but that's not something new that I picked up. It's just something I hadn't really done in 5 years.
Okay. What you Echo? Any new things?
I mean, not really new, just like continuing Dance Dance Revolution.
Okay.
I'm a pretty good DDR player.
Okay.
Damn, he's got moves.
He's got the moves.
Maybe next time we do a live BlizzCon, you can show us some of those badass moves, dude.
Yeah, sure. I'm like, I'm legit. I'm like top 200. Like,
oh
not
shit,
even joking.
Damn.
He's like the guy that's like holding on
wait.
to the rails on the side. He's like,
Can you DDR and Immortal at the same time?
I don't know anybody that good.
you know what you got to do is you got to get like Immortal on PlayStation or Xbox, or get D3 on PlayStation or Xbox, and then use the DDR pad to beat a Greater Rift.
Damn.
I mean, I've done a Greater Rift blindfolded, so I'm sure you could do it with the DDR pad.
There you go. Man, I don't think I've done anything outside the normal. My Corona thing was like to get back in shape a little bit and lose some weight, and I've done that, but that's not getting into something. That's just like stopping eating crap.
I mean, I think that counts.
That definitely counts.
Yeah. So, let's see. Arctic Fox says, "What's wrong with you guys this week?" He says you're having a makeout session with the last 3 main characters. I'm sorry, you're having a makeout session with the main characters of the last 2 video games you played. Who is it? So for me, I've been playing Days Gone today. So it'd be Days Gone character. His name is Deke. The main character's name is Deke. And Diablo 3 was who I played before that. So who's the main character of D3?
Your character, right?
Nephilim?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but your Nephilim doesn't have like a name really. Just Nephilim, I guess. So hopefully I played the female something or other.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's Path of Exile, so I guess I made sweet love with my Boomer Inquisitor.
Okay.
And then before that was Immortal. I started a Crusader before I realized I couldn't play it very long. So just a lot of hands up.
There you go, man.
Echo?
For me, it was Immortal, of course. So my Crusader. Many hours with my Crusader.
Dang. All right. Showing off. Okay.
All right.
And then before that, Satisfactory, which I don't even know like who's in that suit. Like who's in the suit? Have you guys played that game?
Heard of that game? No, I haven't heard of it.
P hasn't heard of a game?
I know, right?
It's a factory building game. It's a 3D one. So it's like Factorio, but it's 3D.
Okay.
Interesting.
Bond 23 says, "What's the song on your playlist that you never skip? Never ever when it comes up." You got that jam, man. That's hard. That's a hard one. Like I have some now, but in a year from now, I'll probably skip them.
Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. It's a 100% play 100% of the time.
I would say almost any song off Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style album from like
Skip.
90. When did that come out? 93? I don't know. That Doggy Style album was good, man. I could listen to any song on that album.
Wow.
Yeah.
Echo?
He's deep in it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a lot of music, especially like video game soundtracks. So I mean, anything from Nier Automata, anything from that soundtrack, never skip.
I'm a huge fan of the Persona series. Did you play those?
I have not, but I've been recommended them so many times.
They're so damn good, dude.
I gotta get to them.
Yep, need to. They're super, super good. So the Persona 5, like I had a PlayStation. I pre-ordered 5 on PlayStation, and it came with a theme if you pre-ordered it or whatever. So this theme replaced the music, and it had the intro music. And so for now, to me, that's PlayStation music because I had it on since like 2017. I never changed it. And so now I miss it. On PS5, you can't do that. And I'm like, dude, where's my PlayStation theme music, man? I need my song back. So sucks. The last question, the final question, the best question. This is Fluff has just got to back up because he always tries to interject. Super easy. Bacon or sausage? Echo.
I mean, do I have to answer the question? Like,
oh, you wore a shirt? Get this guy out of here! What the hell?
Baden
How did I not even notice that the whole time?
I thought it was an X. Honestly, I didn't either until he got closer.
It was here the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah, didn't notice.
You just had to get a little closer. The sun's going down, so it's darker in your room now. I guess you have all that window light. Bacon's batting 1,000, Fluff. You are on a lone island. You are on the Lone Sausage Fest
Hey.
Island, dude.
All sausage for me. My
Fluff loves the
island
sausage
by
fest,
myself.
Confirmed. You eat all the sausage by yourself?
I do.
Wow. Okay. So that's it for the new meta episode 146. Echo, thanks for coming and doing the show and giving us the lowdown on Immortal.
Thanks
Tell
for having me
everybody
on,
where
man.
they can find you at. Like, shout out all your stuff.
Absolutely. You guys can find me over on Twitch. I'm twitch.tv/echohack. You can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/echohack.
Easy.
There you go. Easy peasy. We'll catch you guys next week for episode 147. If you want to find more of me, I'm ThaPChild. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the places at ThaPChild.
Yeah, I'm Lord_Fluffy. Double those underscores on the Twitter. You think next week we'll announce what we're gonna do for 150?
What next week is 47?
147? Maybe.
You think?
Maybe.
Are we gonna announce it or surprise? I don't know.
Don't know.
I think we're gonna do the. I think we're. Yeah, we'll talk about it after.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Peace.